3 seconds or less, like as in we might be live already.
Could be.
And so, welcome. If you're with us, if you're not with us, well, you're not welcome, I guess. And you probably,
Or you'll be here, or you'll be here at some point.
yes. So, I'm just bringing up the stream on another browser so that I can hopefully see the chat in just a moment. And Laura's doing a thing about crossovers with Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica. He may not realize that Star Trek is Paramount and Battlestar Galactica is Universal, and Paramount and Universal don't exactly like each other very much. But
No, I really don't understand how they could be set in
so
the same universe anyway.
yeah, and yeah, everything about them is different. But hey, whatever. But that's not why we're here. And hey, Thomas is first in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you are well today. So today we're going to be talking about Loki episode 5. Now, I haven't had a chance to look at in-depth stuff, but apparently this is the episode where everything goes all woke.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah, I was. That's what I was expecting, because I didn't watch it until later this afternoon, because I had some errands to run this morning, and I was out and about, and then just exhausted, so I took a nap. So I didn't see it until like 3 o'clock this afternoon. So I was seeing all over the place that, oh man, Loki, it completely falls apart. It's completely wokeified. Everything is, so I was like, oh man, what'd they do? And I was like, what? Huh? What? And honestly, I thought it was a lot of fun. The alligator Loki I thought was great. I love the alligator Loki.
Well, I kind of love the little brief mini Loki that you see when they first go into that shelter and it's trying to crawl up the hill.
I didn't catch the mini Loki. Where was the mini?
Oh yeah, there's this little, when they first get to the underground bunker and they start to go down and they start panning down the hillside of it, you see a little tiny one that's only about yay big trying to climb up the side.
Oh man, I missed it. Did you catch though? And this is one that I didn't see the first time watching it. But there's the Thanos copter makes an appearance in this episode. Did you see that?
Yes, I saw the Thanos copter,
yeah.
And I was trying to figure out what was written on Stark Tower, but then I completely forgot to go back and look because I didn't want to pause at that point.
Yeah,
but it didn't say Stark.
I didn't catch it. Yeah. Oh, okay. So John DeMarco thinks that mini Loki was actually Frog Thor. That would actually make sense. That mini Loki was Frog Thor, because Frog Thor was in the comic books. And let's see. Thomas says, I need advice. I have this homeless guy living in a dirt house outside one of my cities. What should I do? He's actually a wonderful guy. Just live and let live. And I'm sure he'll be out of your neighborhood within the next day or two. Just don't worry. I understand he's a perfectly nice guy. What you should not do is put a bunch of picket signs around his house saying woke, woke, woke. Just saying.
And don't go throw tons of water on his dirt house, or just be mud.
Yeah, that's true too. And so Daniel says, didn't see the Thanos copter. Yeah, I didn't see it when I first saw the episode. Thomas Potts sent me a picture of it. But yeah, it is there. It is definitely there, which was hilarious. It's in all the rubble and stuff in the void. So I am more and more convinced at this point that it is Kang that is ultimately behind everything. I think that's when the veil is lifted. I think they're going to Kang's realm. But we'll see. It could be yet another Loki for all we know. But we'll see next week. But I think the series has been a lot of fun. I think that Loki has had a lot of really, really great character growth. And in fact, I think that this has been probably some of the best character development that we've seen in the entirety of the MCU, watching Loki grow through this series. Going from evil Loki, because remember, this is Loki from right in the middle of the first Avengers film when he grabs the Tesseract, to being a genuinely good guy at this point, one who's willing to be a hero that you would believe when he says, "I'm not going to betray you." For the first time, when Loki says, "I'm not going to betray you," you believe him. And so I love it. I absolutely been loving this show. And
I have no complaints on the show whatsoever either. I think it's a fun little ride. I don't understand all the hate for it.
I could tell you, I honestly think a lot of the people that are hating on the show aren't watching it, or at least not paying attention to it. I'm not watching, and this is my honest, fair disclosure, I'm not watching a lot of these negative reviews of it. But from what I'm hearing out of it, from clips of them and stuff, it sounds like they're not paying particular attention to the show. And so they're just looking for things to complain about. And so if you're sitting there with a notepad just looking for things to complain about, like every time a female does something, quote unquote, empowered, or every time they make a joke, like, just like if you were taking a notebook trying to do the opposite, like if I was just looking for anti-woke moments, like I could sit there and say, hey, did you notice that the black Loki was the one that betrayed everybody? So, hey, there's an anti-woke moment. Did you notice that it was the old white male Loki that had the wonderful sacrificial moment at the end? That moment that, like, when he shows up and casts his illusion, which also had some great foreshadowing at the beginning of the episode when he talked about how great his illusions were. When he cast that massive illusion of making all of Asgard appear. What a great moment that was for him, and his death with his big smile and laugh, and that last line of his just saying glorious purpose. What a great ending of a character. A guy who was in the MCU for all of 2 episodes, 3 if you count the mid-credits scene of one episode. He was in 2 full episodes of one series, and he had a great arc and a great ending. And guess what? He was a white guy, And
arguably the most powerful Loki of them all.
Yeah.
To be able to do that.
And in fact, Loki even commented, like, when female Loki was like, how is he doing that? And Loki's like, I think we are more powerful than we give ourselves credit for, So that was great. That was awesome stuff. And so anybody that wants to sit there and say MCU, I think they're full of crap. I think, yes, there are some empowered women in the MCU, but there are some empowered men too. And Loki is absolute proof of that. So, and Thomas is complaining that we're the grumpy old woke show now.
There we go. We're woke. Woke.
Yeah, we're woke. We're woke. We're woke because we're saying the show is not overtly woke, apparently.
Yep.
But yeah.
I just don't get it.
But yeah, it's... I don't get it. I really don't get the hate, because this show has been fun, and that's ultimately what Marvel is all about. More than anything else, Marvel tries to be fun. And I think that they've succeeded with the Loki series. And Daniel, I don't know why you keep saying R.I.P. classic Loki. It's not like Tom Hiddleston is, like, dead.
I think he's referring to the classic-looking Loki, the older guy from the classic.
Are you talking about the old Loki that actually sacrificed himself, or are you talking about Tom Hiddleston's Loki being a mischievous scamp, as he said? Yeah, I agree, John. They used the Ride of the Valkyries theme incorporated into classic Loki's big scene. Classic Loki's big scene was absolutely beautiful. I loved that scene. And that was the big moment of the episode. If they didn't make it all about female, because honestly, especially after hearing some of the complaints before watching it, I was thinking, okay, I can't remember, what did they call the whatchamacallit, the evil thing that was guarding whatchamacallit, the portal.
What the hell was the name?
Like
that thing?
Asriel or something.
It was something like that. I kept thinking of the dang cat from the Smurfs.
Yeah, so they were trying to get through that thing, and I was thinking, okay, what they're going to do is the Lokis aren't powerful enough, but female Loki's going to show up, and she's going to be able to single-handedly stop it. But it was actually Old Man Loki that was the key to stopping it.
Well, distracting it enough for her and
she still needed
combine powers.
Right, she still needed Hiddleston to do it. Alioth, Daniel says. Alioth is the name of that creature. Carl, says Fluggerville.
Carl.
Oh, don't say that name. I hate that name, Carl.
Why?
Why do I hate the name Carl?
Yeah, at least nobody's yelling it like on The Walking Dead going, Carl!
Because of the Guardian of Forever being Carl. Remember? I'm Carl. I'm Carl.
I've already put Discovery out of my brain. I didn't want to remember any of that.
So speaking of Star Trek, but in a good way, there's actually been a couple of pieces of news on the Star Trek. So I guess we can just sum up Loki by saying we both loved episode 5. That we're both very much interested in seeing how they're going to wrap it up in episode 6.
And I don't see it being woke.
Both of us are not worried about the woke thing. Moving to Paramount. Paramount announced 2 projects for the Star Trek 55th anniversary today. One of them is a 4, and by the way, you'll be happy about this, Daniel. These are both physical media releases. These are not online releases. One of them is a 4-disc set of 4K releases of the first 4 Star Trek movies. So Star Trek The Motion Pictures through Star Trek The Voyage Home. And so all 4 on 4K disc will be released. I don't know what did you catch what the release date was in that article?
September 7th.
Okay. So that one's coming in just a couple of months. The other one is going to take a few months for it to come out. And this one I'm more personally excited about. And that is a complete restoration of the Star Trek The Motion Picture, the director's cut. They're going to do a complete 4K restoration of the film, but it's going to probably take about 6 to 8 months for them to complete. And once it's completed, then they'll release it on 4K. Now, a restoration is a little different than just releasing it on 4K. So to give you guys an idea, to release something on 4K means they're going to rescan the film and basically upscale it to 4K. It's going to look great. It's not going to look like crap or anything. It'd be worth buying if you have a 4K TV and a 4K media reader. But to remaster it, basically to completely redo it the way they're doing Star Trek: The Motion Picture, the director's edition, they're going to be going in and cleaning up every frame of film. So they're going to be go ahead.
Well, now that I reread the first one about the 4 movies, they claim that those will also be remastered from original elements.
Did they say that they're going to be doing a complete remaster like they did in the director's edition? Because it seemed like the director's edition article seemed like a more complete.
This one states, in stunning 4K Ultra HD, newly remastered from original elements for optimal picture quality. Each film will be presented in Dolby Vision and HDR/10.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I guess maybe they're going to clean it up some for theatrical.
See, this one says it's a full restoration as opposed to just a remastered.
They're probably going to do more to the director's cut.
And it says the restoration is expected to take 6 to 8 months. Paramount and Paramount Plus are excited to announce full restoration. Director's edition of Star Trek: The Motion Picture has been greenlit. Restoration will be undertaken by producer David C. Fain, restoration supervisor Mike, don't know how to pronounce his last name, and visual effects supervisor. So they're actually redoing some visual effects, all of whom worked previously with director Robert Wise. So they're actually working with people who worked with Robert Wise to restore some of this stuff. The film will be prepared for presentation 4K Ultra HD with Dolby Vision, high dynamic range, HDR, blah, blah, blah. So it does sound like the restoration process for the TMP Director's Edition is going to be somewhat more extensive. But I'm saying that I would probably consider getting both editions. Plus, the 4-disc is the theatrical release anyway.
That and the 4-disc set is going to pretty much include everything they've ever put on any of them.
Yeah.
From interviews to how they made some of the special effects, and even a tribute to Ricardo Montalban for number 2.
Right. And I'm thinking exactly what you're thinking, Brian McFarlane. The flyby the Enterprise and the TMP in 4K. That's it, right there. The flyby the Enterprise and TMP in 4K, that alone is worth having, you know.
I don't know. I'd say the fight between Khan and Kirk.
That too. Well, the Battle of Mutara Nebula in 4K, that's going to be pretty freaking awesome. In fact, almost all, honestly, just a supercut of all the ship porn from those first 2 films.
Yep.
Honestly, just Star Trek 3 and 4, that's just bonus material as far as I'm concerned. Just give me Star Trek 1 and 2. The rest is all just, icing. Granted, the Bird of Prey stuff from Star Trek 3 is cool, but, it was... I don't know about you, but for me, the Bird of Prey was a little bit of a disappointment when I saw it in theaters, because I, at that point in my life, I wanted to see the Katinga class versus the Enterprise, and we never really got that fight. That's the fight I wanted to see, was the Enterprise refit against the Katinga. They teased it in Star Trek 6, and we still never got it. So that's the fight I always wanted to see and never saw.
And we get to watch Kirk steal Doc Brown's ship to time travel in.
That's true.
All over again.
They're going to rescan the original film elements, clean up for 4K, and then recreate the new digital elements done for director's cut and recomposite it. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. They also recut everything to match the original director's cut. Lord of the Rings looks beautiful in 4K. Hopefully, Trek. I'm pretty confident, Thomas, it's going to be awesome.
Of course, Thomas wants number 5 and 6 in 4K too.
I think Star Trek 5 in 4K would be honestly a complete waste of money unless they redo all the visual effects shots done properly. Because one of the problems with Star Trek 5, there are a lot of problems with Star Trek 5, but one of the many problems with Star Trek 5 was that they couldn't get ILM to do the visual effects, which is why the visual effects in Star Trek 5 look so shoddy compared to every other Star Trek film. And so what would be kind of nice would be if you could do Star Trek 5's visual effects shots properly. That even though the story would still kind of suck, if you could at least make the visual effects look good, that would be nice. And, you know, I would not be opposed to fixing certain elements, like why does the Voyager probe that the Klingon ship shoots scream when he kills it? You know, you could fix little things like that, but, you know. Brian says, hey, Anti-Checker, do you think they will modify the TMP 4K to incorporate anything to tie into Discovery? No. I don't think they're that stupid. And if they do, I think that there will be torches and pitchforks at the Paramount studio. I do not think that they would do anything that stupid. I didn't become a Star Trek fan until sometime around 1991, so I didn't see Star Trek 3 in the theater. Oh, man. I'm sorry, Multigun Man. Thomas is angry, apparently. Cinnabon's in the house.
He's always angry.
That's true. That's his secret. On a completely unrelated and random note, Daniel wants to know if we'll see Wolverine in Doctor Strange 2. Hugh Jackman's tease makes fans hopeful. I know Hugh Jackman's little teases with Kevin Feige and stuff has made fans excited. But even if we're going to get Wolverine in the MCU, first of all, it's only going to be in one or two movies probably. But even if we do get him, I don't think it's going to be in a Doctor Strange film. And if we do, that would be the worst case scenario for you, Daniel, because that would mean we're only going to get him as a cameo. It's going to be nothing more than that. And that means, like, because you know, Doctor Strange 2 is the multiverse of madness. And so that means that, like, they'll probably be like, look at all these universes. And you'll see in one corner of the screen, oh, look, there's Hugh Jackman. And then that's it.
Kind of like when Professor X and Magneto tried to go recruit him, and they just walked into a bar.
Yeah.
And they told him that.
To go F themselves. Yeah, that was, you know, or like, or even more like when in Deadpool 2, when he's like, I wonder why there's never any X-Men around, and the X-Men are all in that room and they shut the door. You know, that's about the extent of what we'll see of him. You know, he'll be...
It make more sense to have Wolverine pop up in that Deadpool movie.
But honestly, I would like to see him, but I just, it's going to be very hard to justify him in a mainstream MCU film. And if they just do it as a little 10-second cameo, a lot of fans are going to be disappointed. Let's see. What was the Voyager 9790078 probe, which Matthew thinks is real? Well, Matthew thinks that everything he hears is real. And Matthew will get his comeuppance on Friday. You do not want to miss that. Trust me. Movie night with Matthew this Friday. Matthew is going to get his epic comeuppance like he has never gotten epic comeuppance before. And he has been warned. I told him that whatever he plans on drinking this Friday, he needs to make it double strength, because he is going to get a punishment unlike anything he has ever had before, because he is going to have a direct... it's just going to be beautiful. You're not going to want to miss movie night with Matthew this Friday. As I'll just say that it involves people from 2 different continents addressing him directly, and it might involve a semi-nude Leonard Nimoy. So just saying that you know, that there's something there. By the way, Deej, I think your camera froze. Oh no, it was just okay. There you go. Was it your?
No, I was just sitting there really still.
Okay, it was just you were like you were mastering the Drax system of moving so still that you were completely invisible to the naked eye. And let's see, Dreamers Out There says, newest Loki was amazing, glorious purpose. That line of glorious purpose gave me chills. I loved old Loki saying that line. Let's see. Brian says, "Hey, Tricker, do you think Marvel staff has enough clout to say no to any possible woke stuff from Disney?" I don't think that any woke stuff is coming from Disney. I think that the people saying that crap are people making crap up. Sorry, I'm very tempted to say the word that starts with S that means crap because I'm so sick of that. It's not Disney's handing down, you gotta do woke. It's, that's just stuff people make up to try and get clicks. The simple truth is that, yeah, you know what Disney does and they've been doing for decades? They buy a company that's making money and they say, keep making money and we'll leave you alone. That's what they do. That's all that they do. I mean, that's to kind of paraphrase the Terminator. That's all that they do. That's what they want. They want, they buy a company and they're like, okay, you guys make a ton of money, keep making a ton of money, and yeah, we'll keep financing you. They don't care what Marvel does as long as Marvel continues to make a ton of money.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm listening to, every day in a chat, I'm listening to people, I'm not going to mention any names, that just keep claiming that this whole Loki is garbage and woke, and I don't see it. Sure, WandaVision was meh at times. Falcon and Winter Soldier was meh at times. But I haven't had one complaint so far during Loki on this one. It's been a fun ride the entire way.
And I'll tell you that as Disney is very much interested in making money. It's the wrong way. That is Disney's modus operandi. I'm sorry, I didn't have the dashboard up. Thank you, Thomas. I'll get that loaded up here. I was on the wrong screen, like a freaking idiot as usual. And that was from Matthew. Thank you so much. Life with Matthew donated $1. Is Hugh Jackman the mystic one? No. And thank you, Matthew, for your donation. Let me make sure that I have the stupid things lined up here. Pop out chat. I apologize for always having too many things. There we go. Now I can actually see everything properly, I hope. All right. Where was I? But the problem is, Disney, and in fact, this is the funny thing about Disney. We've only seen Disney actually actively intervene with any of their subsidiary companies once. And that is with Lucasfilm. They stepped in because Lucasfilm started to bleed money. And what did we get? The Mandalorian. That was the only time we've seen any kind of direct intervention from Disney. And so that's it. But notice they didn't, despite what some people have said, we didn't see them come in and fire everybody. We didn't see them come in and clean the house or anything. We just saw them come in and say, okay, we need a change of direction here. Let's show you a couple of things that you could do. And we got to show that all of a sudden everybody loves. And so that's, but for the most part, Disney likes to be hands off with their properties. But the short answer, Brian, is that yes, Marvel has enough clout to say no to Disney because Marvel is making money head over heels. Multi-Gunman says, are you making Matthew watch Discovery in HD? Is that his punishment? Oh, no, his punishment is far worse than any movie or television show could possibly be. Let's see. Daniel says, I'm so glad that Disney will not erase the sequel trilogy. Because I know, just so you guys know, goes to some behind-the-scenes stuff. Daniel sent me one of those articles from these, and you've seen this all over the place, Deej, these fake news websites, which there's like 8 million of them out there now, that all they do, they're clickbait websites that post article after article after article that basically just make stuff up as if it's news, right?
And, yeah, they just want to enrage the fan base just for their own clicks, and
right?
Hope they can
to get ad revenue, more or less,
and some hope that they can drive away people from watching certain things because it doesn't fit their agenda, and it's like, well, let's try to ruin it, so maybe they'll start listening to us and make it our way,
right? And and one of these fake news websites, and this is something that Daniel stumbled across, was trying to say, and this is nothing new, we've seen it across the internet a little bit lately, is that, and again, this is just one of those wishful thinking things, is that they're going to retcon away the sequel trilogy of Star Wars because so many of the fans dislike the sequel trilogy. Now, look, I'm not a huge fan of the sequel trilogy myself. However, that's not how studios work. The sequel trilogy exists. And generally speaking, while it does every once in a while, if a singular person has enough clout, they can say, you know what, screw it, I'm going to ignore all the sequels, like we recently got with Halloween, for example. Where if you get someone like John Carpenter to step in and say, okay, I'll do a sequel to Halloween, but I'm going to ignore all the sequels and I'm just going to make a sequel to my original film, then the studio is going to say, sure, anything to get your name on the project.
And anything to get rid of Halloween 3.
Right. And so that kind of thing, sure, but that's just because you're getting that name. Right, so the only way they would ever do anything like that would be if, say, George Lucas decided to come back, which, by the way, you don't want George Lucas to come back. I know there's so many people that worship at the altar of George Lucas without thinking about the fact that go back to the freaking 1980s, George Lucas was trying to sell you on Star Wars for little kids forever. And then he gave us the prequels, which everybody forgets about the prequels and how bad the writing was there. Does anybody remember how, you're softer than sand, it's coarse and rough and gets anywhere? They're going to kill us and I love you so deeply and truly. Does anybody remember the dialogue from the prequels? Anybody? But no, we forget about that because the sequels were bad. So, and midi-chlorians, anyone? Midi-chlorians for the win? Howard the Duck. That's a Lucasfilm movie. Howard.
Hey! No picking on Howard the Duck.
Oh, you like Howard the Duck?
I loved Howard the Duck.
You're like the only person, right?
No, Brian's in the chat too. He says Howard the Duck forever.
Okay.
So there's two of us.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just anyway. So people make up these false savior complexes by thinking that George Lucas is going to come back, and then they post bogus articles just assuming that George Lucas is going to come back. And when it doesn't happen, they just say, oh, well, it's right around the corner. And this stuff just continues to snowball. And it's just not true, people. Just not true. And we just need to get over this crap and look at what facts are. For the most part, what studios do is that, you know what? They just say, let's move forward. And hey, maybe the next movie will be good. That's the general mentality. Kathleen Kennedy has been fired many times. That's true. Thomas says WandaVision broke so many people. I don't think WandaVision did break a lot of people. I know some people didn't like it, but honestly, the general reception for WandaVision was positive. Let's see. LDG wants to hire Kathleen Kennedy to clean your bathrooms. Okay. John.
He just wants to put her in a little French maid outfit.
Oh, okay. John DeMarco says Kathleen is like Loki. They keep firing her, but they can't get rid of her. Malfi says, I watched Loki. It isn't bad. I don't get where this whole woke thing is coming from. I think that it's just because there's a female Loki who's one of the main characters. Honestly. Jordan says, hey, Auntie, hope your day was as good as mine. Had a decent day at work. Made one of my favorite meals and can't end the day without your live stream. Well, and can end the day with your live stream. Well, thank you, my friend. Cinnabon says, George is coming back to rewrite the sequels. Shh. Jordan says, and one of my friends who haven't seen in a while came over. Well, that's always good. Brian McFarland says, Howard the Duck forever. He's sick man. Mm-hmm. We try not to remember the dialogue from the prequels. Yeah, it's so bad. Daniel says, I found the Thanos copter and it looks odd. Well, of course it looks odd. The Thanos copter never looked right. It looked stupid in the comic books, and it still looks stupid. Tiki of Doom, there's another friend for you, Deej. Loves Howard the Duck. Multi-Gunman says Howard the Duck was a Turtistani. Actually, I'm pretty sure Howard the Duck is actually Kurogan.
No, Howard the Duck is Bunnyland.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. And then Tiki says duck breast for some reason. Oh, what? Oh, because of the female duck from the movie.
The Play Duck magazine.
Yeah. Dreamers Out There says, I might be one of the only people who likes the prequels. I grew up with them. Those are my Star Wars. I loved all the world building it gave us. It expands things, put the war in Star Wars. I'll say this. I did not hate the prequels as much as a lot of people, but I do respect some of the world building, but the dialogue of the prequels was garbage. Absolute garbage. I have a soft spot in my heart for the Phantom Menace, but that's only because that is the one and only time in my life I got to go to a world premiere. And it was an incredible experience. And so I had a laser engraved ticket and everything, and we got to me and Mrs. Antitrekker went to this big the theater was like this huge place. The searchlights were on. You go in and they there's instead of the regular concessions bar, it's like this huge beautiful buffet where you can all you can eat all sorts of really good food. And it was like a multiplex theater, but you just go into any of the theaters you want and they all start at the exact same time. It was an incredible experience, but that's the only reason that I have a soft spot for the Phantom the Phantom Menace. The movie itself, it's kind of creepy that you have, 10-year-old Anakin and what's Queen Amidala supposed to be 16, 17. I know they say she's 14, but come on, look at her. And then in the next movie, all of a sudden they're the same age. And yeah, anyway, it's creepy.
It's quantum.
Yeah, it's quantum. And Brian says, what do you think of Christopher Nolan's work? Dunkirk, Interstellar, Batman, Tenet, 1917, etc. Well, I'll ask Deej on that, but I'll tell you, here's the funny thing about that. Of the movies you listed, I've only seen 2 of them. I've seen Interstellar and Batman. I have not yet seen 1917, Tenet, or Dunkirk.
Dunkirk is good, and so is 1917.
So I did like both Batman and Interstellar. I think that Christopher Nolan is a great director. I will say that while Batman, first of all, I think Batman Begins is underrated. I think The Dark Knight is overrated. And I think The Dark Knight Rises is kind of in between. But the problem is, while they're good movies, they're not particularly good superhero movies. If that makes any sense to you. And I also think that while Christopher Nolan is a good director, I don't think Christian Bale was a good pick for playing Bruce Wayne. So that kind of hurt me with those movies a bit. And I agree with you, Dreamers out there. I think all the Marvel series have been good so far. Alfie says, George Lucas was the writer for Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Yeah, that should tell you something. And not a good thing.
And Thomas is pointing out the Stark Tower, it was Qeng on the side of it instead of Stark.
Maybe that's supposed to be something to try and hint at Kang, because that kind of sounds like a phonetic way of saying Kang.
Could be.
Let's see. Do you think the Richard E. Grant classic Loki is really dead, or is this another trick and he will be back? No, I think he's dead.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to show any of the other Lokis.
Yeah, I think
next week's final.
Yeah, I think we're down to Hiddleston and female. I can't remember the actress's name, but yeah, I think those are the only two Lokis left for the rest of the series.
Well, it's actually Loki and Sylvia.
Yeah. I think that baby Loki and alligator Loki will continue to rule the void, but whether we ever see them again, who knows?
Well, we don't know what happened to them too, because there were still other Lokis fighting it out in his bunker.
Right. Arabic says, Joel on True, Anti-Checker and Deej. How you doing, Arabic? Multi-Gunman says, pretty cool story about the world premiere. Yeah, it was a blast going. And I was very excited about being there. But yeah, other than that, that's, and I will say, leaving the theater, a total adrenaline rush having that lightsaber fight at the end of that movie, because that was at that point the coolest lightsaber fight ever put on film. At that point in history, there had never been anything like it. And so, props to Ray Park and, Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor for an incredible performance there. Unfortunately, there wasn't a great story around the lightsaber fight, but the lightsaber fight itself was freaking awesome. Thomas thinks Episode 3 was the best Star Wars film. Disagree. And Tiki says, I hate sand. Yeah. And who elects a 14-year-old queen? Well, apparently the Naboo do, because they're idiots.
That would be like wanting to have a Bird of Prey 6 ruling you.
Yeah. Indy says, look at Natalie Portman. It'll be hard, but okay. Daniel says, Andrew, I want to go to the theater again to watch Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, Thor 4, Flash movie, but my mom tells me I should not cause COVID. Well, we'll see what happens. And I can't say, I don't know what it's like in your area, and yeah, I mean, I'm going to probably, for the time being, I'll probably be watching Marvel movies from home, because the $30 price point, it makes sense to watch them at home for me. Because for me and Mrs. Anti-Trekker to go to the theater, to buy 2 tickets, to get maybe a popcorn and a drink, we're going to spend well over $30. And so it makes more sense for us to watch it on Disney Plus. I would do that anyway.
Now, me, on the other hand, I can go to my local theater, go to an afternoon show, pay $5 to get in, another $10 for the pop and the drink.
Right.
Or the drink and the popcorn. Boom. 15, half price, I'm done.
Right. So for you, it makes more sense to go to the theater. But since there's 2 of us, it makes more sense for us to do the home ticket. But, it just depends on where you're at and what your situation is.
Plus, they have really nice recliners at my local one, so I can just chill.
Let's see. Anakin was 8. Padme was 14 during the Clone Wars. He was 18 to 20. She was 24 to 27. Yeah, but you know what? Whatever. if he was 8 and she was 14 and they were digging on each other, that was creepy. It was just straight up creepy. The way they did it, honestly, I think that, and plus the fact that they tried to say he was too old to start the training when he was freaking 8. When Luke said, when Yoda told Luke he was too old, okay, I can buy that. But when they said Anakin was too old, I was like, wait a minute. What, do they have to be in utero to start training? How does this make sense?
Wouldn't that make Grogu too old since he's 50?
Exactly. How old is freaking too old? So what they should have done, honestly, is Anakin should have been Hayden Christensen in episode 1.
Should have.
And then it would have made sense. Then you could have said too old. I would have bought it. But to have, 8-year-old be too old was just stupid. I just rewatched episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Enjoyed it. Yes, some dialogue is garbage, but hey, it's better movies I've seen in recent years. I'm not saying they're the worst movies ever made, but the dialogue is absolute garbage. And I will tell you, I just rewatched all the Star Wars movies because I just got the parts to my CPAP machine so I can now sleep in the bedroom again, but I've been banished out here for like a week, and I was having trouble sleeping, so I was rewatching all the Star Wars movies. And I can tell you exactly where the sequel trilogy broke, the exact moment. And that is when Rey closed her eyes in the lightsaber fight at the end of The Force Awakens. That was it. That was the moment that it broke, because at that point, she closed her eyes, then all of a sudden she completely dominated the fight against Kylo. Up to that point, he was beating her pretty hard, and it made sense. But then all of a sudden she just closed her eyes for a minute, and then she opened her eyes, she got angry, and beat the living snot out of him. And that was like, no, there's no freaking way. Even if she was harnessing the dark side, there's no way that she beats him at that point.
No.
John DeMarco wants a spin-off show, Alligator Loki. I'd be down with that.
Yeah, especially if he keeps chomping off hands.
Yeah, that was funny. He loves going for the hands. That was hilarious when he bit off evil Tom Hiddleston's hand. That was funny. Dreamers out there, pre-order Black Widow today. Looking forward to watching it in 4K on the new computer in a day. Very cool. Another building has C, E, or O and a Park 2013 on it. Okay. Looking. Thomas is going to be mining for all the information he can get there. Alligator Loki splintering the timeline and alerting the TVA he's eating the neighbor's cat.
Mm-hmm. That was a little funny line.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I like, and that was a fun scene too when they were all just sitting around talking about how they affected the timeline. So the Clone Wars cartoon Maul actually survives for Clone Wars Season 7. Ray Park did the mocap for an epic Maul fight and was moving so fast mocap couldn't keep up with him. Yeah, we'll see. The problem is, like in Solo, of course, they were showing that Ray Park was coming back as Maul, but Solo flopped so bad that may or may not ever happen. We'll see if they do the Obi-Wan series they've been teasing, they could do it there. But
okay, I got to address Daniel's and defend you in a moment. Yeah. It's not the fact that Annie Trekker doesn't think women can beat up a man. It's the fact that Kylo was a trained Force user. Rey had absolutely no idea what the hell she was doing, so there's no way possible that she should have been able to beat Kylo.
Right. Rey had never, except for earlier in this same movie, she picked up the lightsaber. She didn't turn it on. She picked up the lightsaber and got a little Force impression on where the lightsaber had been, but she had never wielded a weapon like that before in her life. It was literally her first time using that kind of weapon ever, and she beat a guy who had trained under Luke effing Skywalker. That's BS right there. And
that's
so,
right. The fight should have ended up with at least her hand getting cut off because she tried to go against somebody like Luke went against Darth Vader.
Right. And look at and compare that. And by the way, first of all, let me say thank you. Mercer throws in a couple of bucks. Says wise and powerful Avis cover the loss of our vehicle. Thank you, Mercer. Think about and I thought that what the lightsaber fight that I actually really liked from Force Awakens was when Finn took on Kylo. I thought that was visceral. I thought it was well done, and honestly, when Finn went down, it hurt. But that scene, that's how it should have gone with Rey as well. But Finn was a trained fighter. Finn had spent his whole adult life and probably a good portion of his childhood training to be a stormtrooper. And so, and by the way, these stormtroopers were trained, as we saw in earlier scenes, were trained in hand-to-hand combat, and specifically how to combat someone with a lightsaber. Remember the scene where the guy's like, traitor, and he pulls out an anti-lightsaber weapon. So it's not like these guys didn't know how to fight someone who was armed with that type of weaponry. So Finn was experienced and was a combatant and got his butt handed to him. And so then you're going to tell me that he goes up against this little girl who has no formal training whatsoever and just completely gets his butt handed to him because she closes her eyes and wishes upon the Force, which is exactly what happened. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not making it up and saying nice things to be stupid. That's what happens. She literally closes her eyes and wishes upon the Force and is granted super skill with a lightsaber. And that's not how the Force works, as Han Solo would say. And it's not Han Solo, it's Han Solo in this, because that ain't Han Solo. Thomas says, for me, it would have made more sense if her father was king and died making her queen. She steps down, her sister or relative takes over. I'm sure I'm missing something there. Richie says, Deej! And you already said hi back. Sci-Fi says, how do you get a donation from Streamlabs that I tried to send you? I love AT and Deej show. Great combo. Thank you, Sci-Fi guy. I do see it. I'm sorry, Sci-Fi. You did send it and I missed it. I was 15 minutes ago. That is entirely my fault. You donated $10. Man, that's completely on me. Deej, you slapped me a little bit. And says, don't you, ow. I didn't mean that hard. Don't you need 4K eyes to properly see a 4K movie? Just kidding. Love you. Anti-Trick, and the combination of you and Deej is a good one. Thank you. And kind of, yeah, it depends on like the screen that you have. If you have a 4K projector, it helps. If you have a, what are those really nice, is it like a DLP or whatever the newer screens, I can't remember, like the ones they have on display at like Costco and stuff, the really big.
I don't have a Costco.
Well, Sam's Club has them on display. Do you have a Sam's Club?
I don't have any of those close to me either.
Okay, the big Farmer's Warehouse. What do you have?
We have hay. I have a Walmart. That's it.
Well, you don't know then. So the really good TVs, you can see the difference. You actually can. But if you have just a cheap, like little $200 4K TV, yeah, it's not worth it. But if you have a TV that's like 4-digit price tag, then it would be worth it. But I don't. I certainly don't. I may. Like if I have some extra money before the end of the year, I may buy it and then just put it on the shelf until one day I hopefully have a TV where I can enjoy it. But I know that for right now, I wouldn't be able to benefit from it. And Mercer, thank you so much. Puts another $2 in, says, love the fight between Worf and Duras. It meant something. Well, that's the thing about any good fight. And that's something that was missing in all the fights in the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, and most of the fights that we saw in modern Star Trek, is that you need an emotional reason to care. And quite frankly, most of the time you didn't care. You were told to care, but you didn't. Like, the reason we cared about the Luke and Vader fight in Return of the Jedi was we spent 3 movies getting to know Luke Skywalker. He went from being a whiny little bitch, pardon my French, to being someone who we genuinely got how he cared about his friends, how he would do anything to help them. And we saw him risk life and limb to help his friends repeatedly by the time we get to that fight. And we knew that the only reason he was in that fight in the first place was to buy time for his friends. He didn't have to go and fight Vader. He could have avoided that fight completely, but he knew that if he went to that fight, he was buying time for them. So that was Luke's whole thing. Vader, of course, we just knew as freaking Darth Vader, the ultimate bad guy. And so that fight was packed with raw emotion. We cared about who won. And of course, the Emperor was like the perfect personification of evil. And so there was a big problem in not having any emotion in the fights in the sequel trilogy. Because in the sequel trilogy, in the first fight, the first confrontation we get, Rey just wishes on the Force and gets the ability to kick Kylo's butt. So then, for the rest of the trilogy, we're not worried about the good guys because we know they can just wish on the Force and win.
And then it was the biggest slap on the face to find out Rey was a Palpatine.
Yeah.
And not a Skywalker.
Which would have been fine if Rey was the bad guy. That's what they really missed out on. I think if Rey was the villain at the end of the day and Kylo was ultimately the one who had to save the day, then it would have made more sense. Because if Rey, basically slaps down Kylo in the first movie, then in the second movie, she basically outskills him again. And then in the third movie, you have this weird confrontation with Palpatine, and let's say she takes him up on his offer and kills him, and then she turns around and starts taking over, and all you have is, oh, great, now we got our little weenie Kylo Ren's got to try to stop her? Well, I guess we got to root for the guy who can't win. And now you actually can build up a little bit of emotion, but they didn't do that. That would have been a good way to try to save it, but unfortunately they didn't do that. By the way, Joe Biden donated $1. Thank you, Jolton Joe. And he said, did I send a donation before? I don't remember. Number 22. Well, Joe, I appreciate it, but you should know I'm still on the broken computer, so I do not have number 22. I owe you a number 22 when I get my computer back. Hopefully soon. Let me see, catch up on some chats before we run off here. Dreamers Out There says, in Rebels, Maul tried to use the moves he used to kill Qui-Gon on Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan sees it, defends the attack, and kills him in a single swipe. Well, it'll be interesting to see if they bring him back in the Obi-Wan series, what they do, which will also kind of mess up, I know, the people that like to argue about the canonicalness of animated shows. But we'll see what they do. Richie says, I agree. Andy Checker and Deej make a good couple. Well, we're not dating or anything, just so you know. No. Mrs. Andy Checker would get upset about that. And and I'm sure there are, little bunnies running around in the background there that would get mad too. And holy crap, Indy Tiger donates $50. Thank you so much, Indy. My doctors will truly appreciate that. And it says, when you wish upon a Star Wars, it really matters who you are. It's indeed. Whenever I think of that song now, I think about the Ren and Stimpy version. Did you ever watch Ren and Stimpy?
Maybe 2 or 3 episodes.
That's it.
That's it.
The original Ren and Stimpy was funny. The remake Ren and Stimpy was crap, but the original was actually really funny. But they had Jiminy Lummox. And Jiminy Lummox was their version of Jiminy Cricket, except that he was, picture Lore Reloaded, except never wore a shirt and was about 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
And
no, I don't want that head.
No.
I don't want that in my head.
Wait. It gets better. He has little tiny fairy wings on his back, and he flies. And he has like 3 teeth. And he comes in and he sings, and he's like, "When you wish upon a side of beef."
I'm gonna have nightmares of naked Lore flying around in little wings.
Yes,
Thanks.
singing to you. I will put an end to all your grief, but if you get mad or kind of sad, I will punch out all your teeth. And that was his song. And then he'd give you little words of wisdom like, "There's no use crying over Slim Whitman."
Well, no, you got to have Slim Whitman around, or you can't defeat the Martians.
Yes. And Mercer donated $1 as well. And thank you, Mercer. It says, Return of the Jedi, Luke went to meet Vader to save him. Ben and Yoda told him that he was irredeemable and must be destroyed, but it was Father and he wanted to redeem him. Yeah, and that's the thing. It was all Luke's character. You got to know him over 3 movies. And so you believed Luke's goodness. But in the sequel trilogy, none of that was earned. That's the problem. You were just kind of told, raise the good guy. Dreamers out there says Maul won't be in the Obi-Wan show. Star Wars Rebels, Maul meets old man Obi-Wan, dies in battle against him. Once Maul tells Obi-Wan, he realizes who he's protecting. And Thomas is puking and then looks hypnotized. Powdered Toast Man. Yes, Powdered Toast Man. You would love Powdered Toast Man, Deej. Powdered Toast Man is a man made out of powdered toast. And he has the power of vitamin F. And so he squats down and releases a gaseous cloud of vitamin F that propels him into the air and allows him to fly. And you can ride him, but you have to cling tenaciously to his buttocks in order for you to fly with him.
I'll pass.
Yeah. And Richie says, "Stop singing. You're killing Thomas Potts." Sorry. Cinnamon says Luke was whiny. Luke was a whiner like his father before him. But I'm going to Tashi Station for some power converters. Best line in all of Star Wars. Oh, the rubber nipple salesman, yes.
He just wanted to go check out the girls.
Yes, we saw that in, of course, Robot Chicken. Ladies and gentlemen, the power converters! But yeah, and that's, yeah, do you think the power converters, do you think that Luke was actually talking about, like, buying some kind of component part, or do you think that it was a euphemism for something else?
Yeah, it was a euphemism, and he was taking the money so he could get lap dances.
Are you sure?
Yep, that's what Luke was up to.
So you don't think that he was really just a whiny brat like Anakin?
Well, he was a whiny brat, but it was just because he didn't want to have to do anything but go look at the power converters.
Gotcha.
I mean, I kind of would too if all I got to see a bunch of times was a bunch of short Jawas running around.
Well, you say that, but if you think about the height of a Jawa.
No, don't even start in with the Ewok comparisons.
No. I'm not talking about Ewoks. I'm saying if you're human height, then you look at Jawa height. Now, we don't know what a Jawa face looks like. But
they only had glowing eyes.
Right, but we don't. But aside from that, we don't know what their face looks like. It's possible that something about their face might be useful for things.
Yeah, but I also imagine that if you took the hood off of Jawa, they'd all look like Bird of Prey 5.
Well, that's why you keep the hood on.
But no. I'm just going to avoid the Jawas, too. Man, you're giving me a lot of nightmares for tonight.
So, yeah, you're going to see Bird of Prey 5 floating around your room while Jawas are walking around. Going, Bootiti!
It's going to be Laura Reloaded floating around with a bunch of Bird of Prey 5s.
Yeah.
That's
Bird of Prey 5 in like a diaper and little wings.
No.
Son of a bitch. And little tiny birds of prey.
I'm trying to remember if I have a picture of a bird like that, though.
Well, you know.
I'm trying to remember.
Jerry's out there said the only reason we saw Maul in the Solo is because he was alive in the animation, but that tie was lost to anyone who doesn't watch cartoons. Well, I get that, but if he appears in... Because here's the problem. I understand what you're saying as far as the continuity of the... Right now, there's no continuity break as far as the animation versus what we saw in at the end of Solo. But if they decide to bring Maul in, there could be. And... Honestly, it's one of those things that we shall see. Because the only people that genuinely care about canon are the people who are the fans. And I hate to say that, but it's the truth. And Daniel says, I gave you a Simpsons parody of The Simpsons and Marvel called Bart and Loki. It's cool. I'll check it out.
Hey, look, we made Bird wake up.
Wow, that's amazing. Kapla, Bird. Hope that you're well. Bird. And
we didn't do anything.
Well, nothing. You haven't been convicted of anything. There's a difference.
Yeah, Richie says what hasn't he done is the better question.
Right. I mean, we know that Bird is, not allowed within 500 feet of schools or churches or public restrooms.
Hot dog stands.
Yeah. Costume shops. There's a lot of places Bird's not allowed. I think Bird should rule the void at the end of time in Loki. That would be a horrible idea. Mercer says, I want to see Ghostbusters Afterlife in Orville Season 3. Well, eventually we will see both of those. Although my understanding is that Orville Season 3, it sounds like we're going to have to wait till 2022. Which sucks, but I would rather see it in 2022 looking awesome than see it now looking unfinished. And from what I'm hearing from, especially like talking to people like PJ over Orville Nation, and PJ, he's got all the inside sources. The people that he's talked to that have been working on the project are saying, yeah, you will not be disappointed. The big problem with Orville Season 3 is just that it's had some production delays because of COVID. But the flip side of that is that they've really doubled down on just about everything. And so it's going to be an incredible experience. It's just that we got to wait for it. As far as Ghostbusters Afterlife, I'm looking forward to it, but I don't know quite what to make of it because, unfortunately, the trailers that we've seen haven't really given us a firm idea what the story is. Just a couple of little plot elements, Like
a lot of marshmallow men running around.
Yeah, we saw the marshmallow men running around in the supermarket, and we know that it involves Egon's kids. And so
and they've hinted that Zool will be back.
Yeah. But the scary thing about Zool being back, and I don't think that they're going to do this, but the scary thing about Zool being back is that I've heard speculation that could tie into the fact that in Ghostbusters 2016, they did finish it with that post-credit scene of them saying, who the heck is Zool?
Well, I don't think they're going to tie anything of the 2016 into it because
I hope you're right.
Like,
I truly hope you're right. But the scary thing to me is, what if they try to tie 2016 and the original Ghostbusters into the same universe?
Well, one of the lines in the first trailer they put out was there hadn't been any ghost sightings since the second movie.
I don't remember that.
They did say that it had been like 20 years since there was a ghost sighting. Or so. So I think they're going to completely ignore that garbage of a movie they put out 5 years ago.
I hope you're right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm just thinking, speculating about, what worst case scenario. Because Zool, it would seem like, well, I'm trying to think, because I haven't watched the original Ghostbusters in a very long time. Now, the Destructor, which of course was the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, was that Zool in another form, or was that a different entity?
It should have been a different entity, since Zool was also on top of the building at the same time that Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was running around.
Was she? Did we ever see them at the same time?
She was standing on top of the podium, on top of the stairs, when you first hear the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man walking down the street. And that's when they said, I tried to think of the most innocent thing in my mind.
Right. I'd have to read.
Yes, Multi-Gunman. It is Dr. Pepper Zero.
I'm just trying to think. Well, I'll see your Dr. Pepper Zero and raise you a Mountain Dew Zero.
I already drank the Mountain Dew Zero earlier, so.
And then I will take and raise you a Mountain Dew Frostbite Zero. There's a shark on the can.
Okay, you win.
All right, there you go.
I just wish they would make the orange Mountain Dew into a Zero.
I know they need to make every flavor of Mountain Dew they come out with into Zero. That's so not fair that they come out with 75 flavors of Mountain Dew, but only make 2 of them into Zeros.
No, I found 5 of them in Zero.
I found 3. I found the original. Well, let me see. I found the original, the Major Melon, Frostbite, and oh gosh, what's the other one? The Code Red.
And they've got that multi-berry flavored one in a Zero. Mm-hmm. And they've got a lemon or lime one or something. A green one. It's in Zero.
Okay, Bird's gone. We can talk again.
Yep, Bird went to bed. Good night.
Anyway, so I'm just trying to think of the sequence of events from when she says to choose the Destructor, and you're right, Zool was the gargoyle. We're thinking of not Zool, but the
Gozer
the Gozerian, yeah. So Gozer, so Zool is actually not a. So Zool is actually just a low-level minion.
You had the Gatekeeper, the Keymaster.
Well, Zool would be the Gatekeeper. Because Zool was the one that inhabited Dana.
Yeah, and you had Orthos. Is that the name?
Yeah, the Keymaster.
Little guy.
Yeah, that was the Keymaster.
But
Code Red is basically Cherry Mountain Dew. Frostbite Mountain Dew, Daniel, is basically Berry Mountain Dew.
There's lots of Mountain Dews.
But yeah, Zool was not the Stay Puft Marshmallow, and Zool was not destroyed because Zool possessed Dana. But we don't know really what happened to Zool. You're right. Vince Clortho was was the keymaster, but that's not really important. What's important is Zool. If Zool is back, Zool and Clortho can unlock Gozer, who could in turn then bring back the Destructor.
I just know there was a lot of little Stay Puft Marshmallow Men in that one trailer.
Yeah, which were hilarious. Wasn't Paul Rudd in that trailer?
Yep.
Yeah. Which, I'm sorry, anything with Paul Rudd, you got me. I love Paul Rudd. So that's part of the reason that I absolutely adore the Ant-Man movies is Paul Rudd's performance. So did you ever see Paul Rudd do... oh gosh, what's the name of that singer that does the "You Spin Me Round"? You spin me around, baby.
Right round. Baby.
Yeah, you know that song.
Yeah,
I
know the song.
Have you ever seen Paul Rudd's version of it?
Yes, I did. And
it was phenomenal. He was like, he put on the makeup, he did the whole nine, and he was like, you couldn't tell it wasn't the artist. He did it on like the what's his name, the dude that used to be on Saturday Night Live, the little guy that used to do the news.
Yeah, Tang.
Huh?
Chris Katane, I think.
No, not. You're thinking Catan, but no, it was.
You said little guy.
Yeah, I can't remember. Let's see. They could literally write anything they want about Ghostbusters as long as it's grounded and makes sense for them in the original. So that's what I loved about them. Well, the thing about the Ghostbusters is that, and this is something I've talked about before, is that the writing for Ghostbusters, it needs to be written as a horror movie. And a serious horror movie at that, but with humorous characters. That's where Dan Aykroyd and the rest, was it Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, where they really struck gold was they knew they were writing a serious horror movie, but they got into they basically inserted themselves as the main characters and how they would react in these ridiculous circumstances. And so and it wasn't that the circumstances were funny, the circumstances were horrifying and they were funny. And so that's how they need to do it. As opposed to Ghostbusters 2016, they're trying to do physical comedy and stuff like that, and it just didn't work. That's not how Ghostbusters worked.
Well, and extremely lame jokes.
Right, but that's the problem, is that Ghostbusters isn't meant to be that kind of... It's not slapstick, and that, there were physical elements to it, but it was the same kind... It was like the same kind of gross out... Like, think about in the original Alien, when you find the slime on the walls... And if you put Bill Murray in there, and then he would say something about, ew, there's snot everywhere. That's not a line you would expect in the actual Alien movie, but that's something Bill Murray would say. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did. They took a horror movie environment and they stuck Bill Murray in it, as opposed to, writing a Bill Murray movie. And so I think that's where Ghostbusters struck gold. And so if they do that with the new Ghostbusters Afterlife movie, it's going to be awesome.
I got one thing that might concern you, though.
What's that?
When you look at IMDb and they list the cast,
mm-hmm.
they list all the old originals, they list new kids and such, but you don't see Paul Rudd's name until it gets down to the section that says Other Cast.
So he may just be a cameo.
Yeah, he may be just a little short part and he's not in much.
Which is fine. If he's not a main character, that's fine. He may just be in that scene. Like, it may just be a silly little one-off. Just like, but if that's the case, it's still a matter of, is the story any good? And by the way, Mercer threw in a buck. Thank you, Mercer, and says, one thing about the Orville, the endings of most episodes where there's the most tension are the funniest parts, like the episode where Ed and Kelly are at the zoo, where they're about to be euthanized. That was funny. I remember that episode, but I can't remember how it ended. Do you?
No.
See, that,
I don't.
Man. I'm drawing a blank. I do remember the episode where they were stuck in that zoo the whole time, but I don't remember how it ended. I need to rewatch the Orville. It's been too long. Drew's out there says, well, what I love is Ray had to get the third mortgage, or they were all, we're all wearing unlicensed nuclear accelerators on their backs, and they back up the elevator. Yep. In the new one, they're testing the gear in the alley. Not one person sticks their head out the window. It's just can't do that. Yeah. Multi-Gunman says, good observation. Yeah, it's all in the way, the attitude of the writing was, let's write a good horror movie and then stick silly people in it. And that's how you do it. Black Delegation says, Lost in Translation is great. He carries the film. I've never seen Lost in Translation. Have you?
Nope.
Yeah. No, that's another movie I'm going to have to probably put on my list now.
Well, you still have to watch The Goonies.
Yeah, I know. But yeah. Yeah, it's 2003. Man, I feel so old. Ed and Kelly died at the... No, they did not die at the end of the episode, Richie. Jeez. Don't mess with my head. As little brains as I have. All right, so relatively slow news week, but we managed to make a show out of it, amazingly.
Yeah, we just had to talk about Star Wars, most of it.
Yeah, pick a fight with some people, not trying to make things. Next week is going to be exciting, because next week I figure we're going to probably be going for at least a couple hours next week, because not only are we going to have the final episode of Loki, so we're going to be able to talk about however they wrap up the show, but we're going to have our official Black Widow review.
Yep.
So next...
And then after that is probably when I'm going to start my another 48 hours.
So you're going to do another 48-hour live stream?
Yep.
Are you going to do it like right after our show next week then?
Probably.
Okay.
I will probably start as soon as we're done here. I'll go on and start it on my channel.
So we'll try to go for at least 8-9 hours on our show then, to just get them really revved up for, that way his 48-hour live stream will be like, 56 hours or so.
Yeah, then I can officially say I beat Jedi Bill for the longest stream.
How long is Jedi Bill's record?
Bill went 50 hours because he had to outdo my last 48.
I've never tried to go for a crazy long live stream. Now, did you take any breaks, like for naps or anything like that?
I took 2-2-hour naps, but they were on camera the entire time too, so...
So you actually took on-camera naps?
Yep.
But
they were no more than 2 hours each.
All right.
And I actually had people up on the panel at that time making fun of me and doing weird things to me while I was sleeping.
I might have to try to go for that one of these times. I've never gone for something quite like that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Think I should try to do something like that? Probably not.
Only if you have an entire day to sleep after it's all done. Because it'll wear you out.
Yeah. And wrong. All right, there we go. All right, so it doesn't look like anybody wants me to do that, so that's fine. We just won't. Let's see. And everybody says that the Goonies was horrible. And so, anyway, next week is going to be a big bundle of fun, and Deej is officially declaring war on Jedi Bill, and and LDG drew pictures over Deej while he slept.
Well, he actually took of me sleeping and he put it over on his thing, and then started putting pictures of Jodie Whittaker next to me, and
that sounds like something LDG would do.
Had me sleeping with the fishes at one point, with little fishes floating past my head.
And Thomas
wants you to do 224.
Yeah, but Thomas is the only person. He's like the only guy that likes me that much to want me to do it.
I think they'd get behind it. See, Mulder Gunderman says you should do 48 hours.
Right, well, we'll see. I mean, I was thinking about doing something to like do a fundraiser to pay for all the crazy medical bills I've been racking up, but which have been, in America, don't get me wrong, I'm not dissing our medical system entirely, but it is expensive to get sick in this country.
And just don't do like Lore did when he did his big long stream and get sick because he ate too many chicken McNuggets.
Oh, that was stupid. Yeah, when he did his chicken.
It was funny, though, when you showed up at his house and attacked him.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was fun.
But yeah, I would not do that. I would eat relatively healthy foods if I was going to do a marathon stream. In fact, I probably wouldn't eat a lot during the live stream. I would graze throughout the live stream. But yeah, massive amounts of chicken nuggets, that would be stupid. I would probably, if I hit my goal with fundraising, I know you can't see me, but on the live stream, the camera should be still working, assuming it didn't freeze up.
I can see on there.
Yeah. I do have on the shelf behind me still that wonderful gift from Darren Wagner, the little nitro. So
yeah, people have been waiting for you to eat that.
Yeah. So if we get to the a certain fundraising goal, and I still do have the various hot sauces that we didn't get to from before, because when Matthew obviously had that something of a medical emergency with the one chip, so that would be worth it to try and pay for, the bills we've racked up. Because, fortunately, I will tell you, no joke, the church that we attend actually paid my mortgage this month, because that's how much our medical bills have been draining our accounts. But, we have a good church that's been going, that's helped us out. But we can't expect them to keep doing that for us.
So, no, Richie, I'm not doing 96 hours.
So, but seriously, I will think about that, maybe in the next week or so, setting up a poor me live stream. And we got to figure out things to do, though. So you got to help me come up with ideas for.
Let's see, you can do Jackbox games.
Yeah.
You could do.
I do have Jackbox.
You got Risk.
I think I do have Risk. Yes.
It's always fun to beat up on Bird and Risk.
That's true. Bird is easy to beat up on.
Use Your Words. Let's play that one.
I have used Your Words.
You could
you can do Minecraft. I have Minecraft. That's
wow.
Well, I'm just saying for the slow parts of the day when there's two people watching and nothing going on.
Oh hell, the last 48 hours I did, I never had anything less than 15 to 20 people in mine.
Really? Okay.
And it was packed full on that last hour just to see if I was going to collapse or not.
Malfi says there's a 13 million Scoville chocolate bar called Satan's Pleasure. Holy crap. Seriously?
And just think, during that live stream, you could have a movie playing and make Matthew show up.
That's true.
And that could take up that time.
We could do a couple of movies with Matthew if he'd be willing to participate. In fact, one thing that I've talked to Matthew about that I thought would be hilarious to do, because Matthew has not seen any, and I mean any, of the Fast and Furious movies. And so we thought it would be funny to make him watch all of the Fast and Furious movies in a single non-stop stream. Could you imagine watching 9 Fast and Furious movies back to back?
No, because I don't think I have watched anything past the first one.
Oh, they are painful. Granted, they're actually they're not. The funny thing is, they're just so stupid. That's they're not. They're they've got a budget to them. It's not like they're the worst movies ever made or anything, but they just get so ridiculous. Like, you know, if you've seen the first one, of course, is just Point Break, except with racing cars instead of surfing. Right? So it's just some street racers and an undercover cop, and the undercover cop's trying to find out street racers are stealing stuff, right? And you've seen that movie, right? So then the second one, you know, at the end of the first one, the cop lets the street racers go, so he's in trouble. So in the second one, the FBI offers him a way out by having him go undercover again to bust a drug racketeer by being a street racer for him. So it's basically, you know, same movie. So then in the third movie, they wanted to do something different, so they follow another street racer who's in high school, even though he's like 30 years old, but he's in high school, and he's getting in trouble because he keeps getting busted for street racing. So they tell him he needs to either, and get this, he needs to either go to jail or leave the country. So he moves to Tokyo, where his dad lives. And so that's why it's called Tokyo Drift. And so he learns drift racing in Tokyo, and gets in trouble with the Yakuza. And, of course, the big climax of the movie is Tokyo Drift Racing with the Yakuza. So that's how the movies go for the first three movies. It's just wash, rinse, repeat, where you have street racing. Then, all of a sudden... then the fourth movie, they decide, you know what, nobody really cared for the Tokyo Drift thing, so let's get the original cast back together and just do that movie again. And so they do that again. And then they're like, what can we do that's different? I know, let's get James Wan in. Do you know who James Wan is, the director?
Nope.
Okay. He's well known for directing some pretty good movies, so he's actually a pretty good director. And so they bring him in, and they're like, okay, we need to do something different. He's like, okay, I got you. No problem. So he's like, let's make Ocean's 11 with cars. And so they turn the whole thing into a heist movie where they use cars to steal a bank vault. And so they make like 2 or 3 movies where they're using cars to steal things. And then by the time you get to movie number 9, now they're like freaking James Bond, except that they use cars for everything.
See, I'm glad you're making Matthew watch all these things and not me. These would melt my brain.
That's the idea. And that's the idea. Vin Diesel is watchable. And the funny thing is, so when they bring The Rock in, and so then they bring in The Rock because like Vin Diesel is the leader of this crew, and so they need somebody that can bring down Vin Diesel and his crew. So they recruit The Rock, who's like the biggest, baddest FBI agent ever. And they needed somebody that could actually outmuscle Vin Diesel. And by the way, if you haven't seen The Rock next to Vin Diesel, The Rock makes Vin Diesel look like freaking Bird of Prey 5. It's crazy how much bigger The Rock is than Vin Diesel. But they have this big action scene where The Rock and Vin Diesel fight. And so the two of them are like, fighting each other. And this is like in Fast 5, I think. But then they're like, oh no, what do? We need to have them be friends in the next movie. So they team up. And so then they're like, oh no, well, we need a bad guy that can threaten The Rock and Vin Diesel. So what do? I know, let's bring in Jason Statham. So they bring in Jason Statham as the killer assassin who's the threat to both of them. And so they're going with Jason Statham to try and kill both of them. And then they're like, wait a minute, let's make Jason Statham the friend of both The Rock and Vin Diesel. And so now they're all buddies. And so they want to make all of them friends. So who are they going to go against? I know, Charlize Theron. That's how she's going to be the bad guy. And it's just insane.
Yeah, I'll just stick to watching Galactica 80 instead of watching that.
Oh, but you know, I gotta say, you until you've seen the Jason Statham and The Rock throwing insults at each other, you just haven't lived. And actually, I gotta say, Tyrese and The Rock, they throw insults at each other so well. It's hilarious because and it's just a movie thing, because The Rock is so muscle bound that they always, when before they shoot, and this is common Hollywood stuff, that before they shoot, the actor, Dwayne Johnson will be constantly pumping up his muscles and stuff, and then there'll be people that'll be rubbing him down with baby oil and stuff so that his muscles will shine, because that's just what they do. They want him to look all pumped up for every shot, right? And so they started this running gag, and it was actually originally improvised by Tyrese, where every time he would walk by, he goes, "Do I smell baby oil?" Every time he walked by him, and it would actually get him to crack up. It was actually kind of a funny thing that they started doing. But yeah, so Jason's, it was just insane the way they got these movies going. But yeah. But yeah, so they just keep getting crazier and crazier.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. And yes, Richie, I've seen all the Fast and Furious films, except I haven't seen 9 yet. So, but I even saw, yes, I actually did see Hobbs and Shaw and enjoyed it. So, yeah.
Richie says you know way too much about it.
I do. I truly do. And so, yes, that's true. All right, so we'll wrap it up there. Now that I've given, Deej, it could be worse. Now you could be imagining little versions of Bird of Prey 5 dripping with baby oil.
Son of a bitch.
Yes, indeed. So, Bird of Prey 5 dripping with baby oil, floating around the room.
No.
Now you're just gonna, what's gonna happen? You're not gonna picture anything. You're gonna be drifting off to sleep, but you're gonna faintly smell baby oil, and then you're gonna be listening for the flap of the wings.
No.
And you're never gonna sleep again.
No, I'm gonna put my headphones on and turn Tiptoe to the Tulips on, and I'll just forget everything.
But you'll still smell the baby oil.
No.
All right, guys. Good night. Say good night, everybody.
Good night, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie. Whatever, weirdo.